Adrian Newey designed 26 World Championship winning cars. His Red Bull RB19 won 21 out of 22 races in 2023, the most dominant season in Formula One history. Max Verstappen looks completely untouchable behind the wheel of that machine. But then Newey walked away, and within 12 months, Red Bull dropped from first to third in the Constructors' Championship. Christian Horner was fired, Helmut Marko left, and Verstappen lost the 2025 drivers' title to Lando Norris by just 2 points. Now, the man who built the weapon that made Verstappen invincible is building a brand new car at Aston Martin, and the 2026 regulations are about to wipe the slate clean for every team on the grid. So the question is simple: can the creator destroy his own creation? To understand why this matters, you need to understand who Adrian Newey actually is. Not the name on the press releases, the actual track record. 26 World Championships, 223 Grand Prix victories, Williams, McLaren, Red Bull. He is the only designer in Formula One history to win constructors' titles with 3 different teams. 7 different drivers have won World Championships in cars that Newey designed. Nigel Mansell, Alain Prost, Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve, Mika Hakkinen, Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen. If you counted Adrian Newey as a constructor, his 223 wins would place him second all-time behind only Ferrari. The cars he built read like a Hall of Fame all by themselves. His Williams FW14B in 1992 was so advanced that Mansell clinched the title with 5 rounds still remaining. His McLaren MP413 in 1998 lapped the entire field in its debut race at Melbourne. The Red Bull RB7 in 2011 took 18 out of 19 pole positions, and the RB19 in 2023 won 21 out of 22 races, a 95.45% win rate that obliterated every record in the sport's 70-year history. And here is the part that makes this story truly fascinating. Newey still designs every car the same way he did 30 years ago. He uses a 0.7mm HB pencil on A4 paper. He refuses to use CAD software. He says the drawing has to be subconscious, that if he spent time thinking about how to operate a computer program, he would lose the fluency of just sketching naturally. His colleagues describe something almost supernatural. Newey can visualize airflow around a car in 3 dimensions, from memory, without simulations, without computers. He just sees it. And where other designers read regulations as restrictions, Newey reads them as springboards for innovation. That brings us to why Aston Martin specifically. Ferrari wanted him. That was the front-runner deal that everyone expected to happen. Newey admitted Ferrari was one of his considerations, but Lawrence Stroll offered something that Maranello could not: a 2.5% equity stake in the team. Newey was not just being hired as an employee, he was being made a partner and a shareholder. His 5-year contract is reportedly worth up to £30 million per year, totaling around £150 million. That salary is more than 18 of the 20 Formula One drivers earn. Only Verstappen and Hamilton make more. Newey explained his reasoning clearly. Lawrence is the only one of that old model of team owners, like Frank Williams or Ron Dennis. He is the only one who is that model now. Stroll's response was even more direct. Adrian is a bargain. I have been in business for over 40 years, and I have never been more certain. And the facility that Stroll built to attract him is unlike anything else on the grid. The AMR Technology Campus at Silverstone spans 400,000 square feet across 3 buildings, constructed at a cost exceeding £200 million. The crown jewel is the CoreWeave wind tunnel, the first purpose-built Formula One wind tunnel in roughly 20 years, built at a cost of $150 million. In total, Stroll and his sponsors have invested more than $500 million into Aston Martin's infrastructure. When asked about the exact number, Stroll admitted he does not even know. He just puts in whatever is necessary. 1,100 people now work at that campus. When Newey walked through the facility for the first time, he called it the best facilities in Formula One without doubt, and said they have a great creative feel. But the facility alone does not make a championship contender. The Honda partnership is what completes the puzzle. Honda powered Max Verstappen to 4 consecutive Drivers' Championships from 2021 through 2024. They won 72 races in the turbo hybrid era. And now, Honda is building a bespoke power unit, the RA626H, specifically for Aston Martin's 2026 chassis. This is not a customer engine deal. This is a full works partnership, with Honda engineers embedded at the Silverstone campus, working alongside Newey's design team. To oversee that integration, Aston Martin brought in Andy Cowell. If you follow F1 engineering, that name should send a chill through the paddock. Cowell was the head of Mercedes' engine program during their dominant years from 2014 through 2021. He masterminded the split-turbo power units that launched an 8-year dynasty. Now he is Chief Strategy Officer at Aston Martin, managing the relationship between Newey's chassis and Honda's engine. So Newey has the best facilities. He has a championship-proven engine. He has an owner willing to spend whatever it takes. But there is one more ingredient that makes 2026 different from any other season in the sport's history: the regulations. Adrian Newey himself called the 2026 regulations the biggest step change in F1 history. And he is not exaggerating, because the chassis, aerodynamics, and engines are all changing at the same time. Active aerodynamics replaces DRS entirely. Both the front and rear wing elements can now adjust their angle during a lap. On straights, drivers activate a low drag mode that flattens the wing flaps. In corners, the flaps close to maximize downforce. The power unit fundamentally transforms. The split between combustion and electrical power shifts to roughly 50-50. The MG UK output nearly triples from 120 kilowatts to 350 kilowatts. The MG UH, which recovers heat energy, is eliminated completely. The cars themselves shrink by 200 millimeters in wheelbase and 100 millimeters in width. Minimum weight drops by around 30 kilograms. Ground effect Venturi tunnels are removed, replaced by flatter floors with larger diffusers. Overall downforce drops by 15 to 30%. Drag is reduced by 40 to 55%. And every car runs exclusively on 100% sustainable fuels. The significance of all of this is brutal and simple. Everything every team learned about the current generation of cars becomes largely irrelevant overnight. Previous aerodynamic knowledge? Obsolete. Power unit strategies? Rebuilt from scratch. Suspension philosophy? Rethought entirely. Every team on the grid starts from close to zero. Martin Brundle called it the biggest changes ever in the sport. And for a designer like Newey, who thinks from first principles with a pencil and blank paper, that is not a threat, it is the ultimate invitation. Because here is what the history books tell us. Every single major regulation reset in Formula One has produced a new dominant force. In 2009, Ross Brawn's team exploited a double diffuser loophole and went from near bankruptcy to the World Championship. Jenson Button won 6 of the first 7 races in a car nobody expected to be competitive. In 2014, Mercedes leveraged the 3-year head start on turbo hybrid engine development to launch an 8-year dynasty, winning 16 of 19 races in their first year alone. In 2022, the return of ground effect regulations gave Newey's Red Bull the platform for the most dominant car ever built. But what makes the Aston Martin threat uniquely credible is Newey's personal record at these resets. In 1992, his Williams FW14B dominated under active suspension rules. Mansell won 10 of 16 races. In 1998, when F1 introduced narrower cars and grooved tyres, his first McLaren won 9 of 16 races and lapped the entire field in its debut. In 2010, he pioneered the exhaust-blown diffuser under new aero rules and launched Red Bull's 4-year dynasty. And in 2022, he drew on his 1980s sports car experience with ground effect to nail the Venturi tunnel regulations, while Mercedes floundered with porpoising. Here is the detail that should terrify every other team on the grid. Active aerodynamics returns to Formula One for the first time since Newey's 1992 and 93 Williams cars dominated the active suspension era. He has direct, personal experience with the very concept being reintroduced. As aerodynamicist Dr. Sami Diassinos explained, when you have limited development time, people like Adrian Newey are so much more valuable. He has a head full of 30 years of aerodynamic development and knows roughly what works and what does not. Johnny Herbert put it more bluntly. When you get an excited Adrian Newey, that is the worst scenario for everybody else. Meanwhile, the team Newey left behind is falling apart. Red Bull's decline has been as dramatic as it was predictable. They dropped from constructors champions in 2022 and 2023 to third place in 2025, scoring just 451 points compared to McLaren's 833. The RB21 was the first Red Bull not designed by Newey since the RB2. Verstappen, despite winning 8 races, lost the 2025 Drivers' Championship to Lando Norris by just 2 points. And it goes far beyond the car. Christian Horner was fired on July 9, 2025, after 20 years as team principal. Helmut Marko departed at the end of the season. Sporting director Jonathan Wheatley left for Sauber. Strategy chief Will Courtney went to McLaren. Karan Chandhok summarized the devastation perfectly. The architects of the current technical situation, Adrian Newey, Christian Horner, and Helmut Marko, are all gone. Newey himself offered the most damning assessment of what he left behind. He revealed that warning signs about the RB20 becoming difficult to drive were apparent, but not many other people in the organization seemed to be very concerned about it. Mario Andretti was more direct. Ever since Newey announced he was leaving the team, Red Bull has declined. There is a reason the team has suddenly lost direction. Red Bull also faces 2026 with their first ever in-house power unit, built alongside Ford. Ford's CEO, Jim Farley, admitted that he does not think anyone truly understands what a mountain it is to climb, calling it an underdog project. Ford's performance director acknowledged the engine may be a little bit behind established manufacturers. Red Bull's new team principal, Laurent Mekies, conceded that expecting to be at the level of competitors straight away would be naive. And on January 29, 2026, the car that might bring all of this crashing down on Red Bull rolled out in Barcelona. The AMR26 completed just 65 laps at the shakedown, compared to 502 from Mercedes. It was the last car to appear, arriving on day 4 of 5. That sounds bad, but the context tells a completely different story. Newey conceived the car's philosophy during his gardening leave from Red Bull, thinking from first principles about the new regulations. Wind tunnel testing did not begin until mid-April 2025, roughly 4 months behind every rival. Chief Technical Officer Enrico Cardile, hired from Ferrari, could not start until August 2025 due to a court-enforced gardening leave. The entire car came together in roughly 10 months. Yet the AMR26 drew the most attention of anything on the grid. George Russell called it probably the most standout in terms of car design, noting that everybody was looking at that rear suspension. James Vowles, the Williams boss, was more specific. Adrian is just a creative designer. It is really impressive what he has done with wishbones in places that I do not think they should be. The car features dramatic side pods, a wider nose reminiscent of the Red Bull era from 2010 through 2013, and extreme suspension mounting points that made engineers in the pit lane nervous. Newey's philosophy for the car reveals the most important detail of all. He explained that they attempted to build something with a lot of development potential. What you want to avoid, he said, is a car that comes out quite optimized within its window but lacks room to grow. He said they deliberately tried to do the opposite. Fernando Alonso, who drives the AMR26 alongside Lance Stroll, echoed that thinking. He said he is not really too concerned about Bahrain or the first couple of races, because having a good or bad season is going to play out more in the second half. That is classic Newey. Build the foundation right, then develop faster than anyone else through the season. It is exactly what he did with the RB6 in 2010, and exactly what turned the RB18 into the record-smashing RB19 by 2023. Damon Hill, who won his own championship in a Newey-designed Williams, drew the historical parallel that matters most. He compared Aston Martin's potential to Brawn GP's shock championship in 2009, when a team went from near death to glory through one man's reading of new regulations. Hill called Newey the master of seeing through the regulations, and said we are sort of expecting him to wave his magic wand over Aston Martin. It could happen. So where does this leave us heading into 2026? Aston Martin has every single ingredient that has historically produced dominant Formula One cars at regulation resets. A genius designer with an unmatched record of exploiting new rules. A proven championship-winning engine manufacturer. State-of-the-art facilities, including the newest wind tunnel in the sport. And effectively unlimited financial commitment from an owner who has described himself as willing to put all on black. The 2025 results, finishing 7th in constructors with 0 podiums, are irrelevant. Brawn GP was building cars on a shoestring months before winning the championship. Mercedes was midfield in 2013 before launching an 8-year dynasty. Newey captured the fundamental truth about 2026 with characteristic directness. Whenever there is a big regulation change, there are always huge opportunities. It is who spots what, and which solution ultimately proves to be the correct one. He has spotted what others missed more often than any designer in the sport's 75-year history. He built the cars that made Max Verstappen look invincible. Now he is building the car designed to prove that Verstappen, without Newey's machinery beneath him, might just be vincible after all.